Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. This video is part of the YouTube series that I'm making called Zero to Hero Business Central. In this series, I already uploaded few videos on my YouTube channel. In this particular video, we are going to learn about options versus enums in Business Central. Basically, we are going to learn what are options, what are enums, and how enums are better than options. So if you see, option is a zero-based enumerator type, therefore you can convert option values into integers. We can basically convert the option values into integers, and you need to use comma separated list after your variable definition. Like for example, if you wanted to create a variable of type option, then you need to give the values as comma separated values. Like here you can see I have defined the color, but the values are basically defined with the comma separated values. If you want to reuse the same option in other objects, you have to redefine all the available values. Like for example, let's say I wanted to pass this var color as a parameter to another procedure in another object, then in that another object I need to actually redefine this whole option. I cannot just simply use color, but I'll have to actually redefine this whole option. We are going to actually see that in action in code as well, so do not worry about that. Options in table are not extensible with table extension, so they are not extensible. And let us actually see a better approach, which is by using enum. An enum is a separate object with its own name and number. So if you wanted to create enums, you need to create it as an object with its own name and number. Then you can reference that enum in code wherever you want. An enum object can be extended. So we are going to see how we can actually extend an enum object, how we are going to create an extension of enum object. So basically, let us actually see all of this in code so you will get a better understanding of what exactly option is and what exactly enum is and what is the difference between both of them. So firstly, if you come over here, I have employee page. In employee page, there are a couple of fields. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add two more fields called employee account type option, employee account type enum. And let us actually see what is the difference between both of them. From the UI perspective, there will be no difference, but how we implement the logic in the backend will be different. So let me go to my Visual Studio Code. In here, I have employee operations code unit, but I also have employee page. In employee page, we are going to add that particular field. So first we need to add it in the employee table. So let me just copy this and let me just put in over here. And now let me actually say this as 4, and let me call the name as employee employee count type, and let me call it as option. Let me go in here. So let me take it as it is, and here let me actually take the options as well. So let me do this. Now here you can see basically I have three option members which are full-time, part-time, and contractor. So I have defined option. When you define an option, you need to basically give the option members as well. So create let me actually say this as option. Let me actually create one more field, but now it has enum. So now let me just say it as enum, and now let me actually, here we have it as enum, but we need to define it as enum, so we'll have to create our own object. Like let me create one more folder called enums enums, and in enums let me actually create my very first enum called employee count type enum dot al. And in here the basic snippet to generate the enum is the enum. It is going to generate an enum for me. Let me choose the default option, and let me actually call this enum as employee account type enum. So let me go in here, let me say, and let us put the extensible as true because we wanted to extend this enum from our dependency app as well. So let me give the first value as full time, and let me actually remove this. Let me copy this again, and now let me paste in here. Let me say one, it is part-time, and let me say two as contract. Let me just remove this and contractor. So basically what we are doing over here is basically we have created an enum and we are going to actually use that enum in here. So let me just say enum, employee account type enum. We do not need this particular thing. So basically what we did was we created one enum account type, and in enum account type basically we have given our own values like full time, part time, and contractor. So let us see how those actually look in the UI, both the employee account type option and employee account type enum. But we forgot to add that in the page, so let me actually add that in the page, which is the employee page. Let me go to employee page and let me just copy this and let me put it over here. Let me call this as employee type option, and let me just do this, and let me also add this particular field as well, which is employee type enum. So let me publish this and let us see how both employee option and employee enum account type enum look in the UI. Basically they'll both look the same. So let me go in here, let me actually edit this list, and in here you can see both of them look the same. So first one is the option and the second one is the enum, but if you see from the UI perspective there are no changes, but how it is implemented in the backend is different. Here we just have employee account option field, but here we basically have created our own enum object and we have referenced that in the field. So let me go in here and let me go to my employee setup table. Now what I wanted to do is whenever the user selects an option in account type option or enum, I just wanted to display that to him. Basically we have to write that code in the trigger. I was writing the code directly. So what I'm going to do now here is I'm going to do trigger on validate, and let me do begin and end. And actually let me also copy this and let me also paste that in here, and let me just create one more procedure in the employee operations code unit called internal internal procedure show employee account type contractor, then do begin and end. Basically let me just do begin and end. Let me actually fix this internal. Let me just say contract type as contract. Let me actually now go in my table, employee table, and let me actually call that procedure if employee option type is a chosen contractor. Then let me actually take reference to that particular operations code unit, and if this is chosen, let me actually call this particular procedure. What it is saying, cannot implicitly convert type integer to boolean. So basically what we have to do is we basically have to say this, and basically we are checking if the user has chosen contractor, then we are going to call this procedure. If the user has chosen different full time, then we are going to actually create procedures for them again. So what I'm going to do now here is I'm going to pass this as a parameter, and now here you see I actually have to create the option from scratch again over here, employee type, and in here you see just to accept the parameter I have to recreate the whole thing over here. What if I wanted to have one more procedure here as, let's say, full time, Here also I'll have to recreate this one more time, and let's say if I have in here as full-time contractor and part-time, here also I will have to again recreate this whole option. So let me go in here, let me go to my employee table, and let me actually copy this and let me paste in here. Let me paste this here and let me choose now part time. Let me choose this now as full time, and let's basically change the procedures. So we are going to call when the user chooses contract, we are going to call the show employee account type contract. When the user chooses part time, we are going to call this. When the user chooses full time, we are going to call this. So let me go in here. Let me actually write some logic in here called if employee type is contractor, then we are going to say employee type is contractor. Let me go in here, let me write the same code again. Let me just say full time, and let me actually copy this again. Let me put it over here, and let me actually say this as part time, and here as part time. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is just to pass one option as a variable to another procedure, we have to redefine the whole option. It is not possible for us to just choose the employee type as in enums. We are going to do that. How simple that will be. Here we'll have to actually redefine the whole option to use that option. So let me go in here. Let me just publish this once and let us actually see how it looks in the UI to achieve some functionality. Let me go in here, let me refresh this, and let me now actually edit this. And this is account type is of enum. So let me choose full time, let me choose part time. It says employee type is part time. Let me choose contractor. It says employee type is contractor. Let me choose full time. It says employee type is full time. Now let me actually show you how we can achieve the same thing using enum, but we don't have to redefine the whole this thing again and again. Here also we have redefined the whole enum. Here also we have redefined the whole enum. And let me now just go in here. Let me do it by using the enum. So let me go in here and let me now do the same thing. Let me just do one thing. Let me copy this particular code in here, and now let me actually do one more thing. Let me say if employment type enum is to be contractor, then we are going to call some procedures. So basically let's actually accept this code. Let me just do this, and contractor, sorry, we'll have to do this. Basically, let me just remove this code and let me go into employee operations. Here also, let me actually create internal procedure enum contractor. Let me just do begin and end, and let me actually copy this code. Let me put it over here, and let me just copy this code again. Let me put it over here. Let me change this to full time. Let me change this to part time. Enum contractor, let me say part time. Now let me go to my table again. Let me actually write call these procedures which we have created. So let me just take this, let me call it from employee ops. Let me do this, let me take this code here, let me put it over here, and let's say now this, but it takes the enum as a parameter. So let me just pass it as parameter. Control C, Control V, And now let me actually save this, and let me just copy this, and let me do this. The enum options are basically part-time contractors, so we'll have to go in here. Let me just remove this. So basically it's part-time, and it is basically full-time. Now let's actually go inside these, and let's actually write some code. Let me say we can maybe reuse this code if employment type is of employment type is of let's say employment type is of contractor. And let me just copy this. Let me paste in here as well. Let me paste in here as well. But now here we have to choose part-time. Part-time. Here we had to choose full-time, also full-time. So basically we are again doing the same thing that we did with the option, but now we are using the enums. So let me publish this. Here you see we did not actually define the whole enum, we just have the object to the enum object. So we have just created a variable to the object enum. Let me actually go in here. Let me refresh this again. Let me just edit, and let me click on other part-time. Employee type enum is part-time. Now let me choose contractor. Employee type enum is contractor. Now employee type enum full-time. We have achieved the same functionality using both enums and options. Now let us actually do one thing. Now I wanted to add one more employment type, which is intern. So now let me actually add intern in the option. Now in all the procedures that I'm using the employee type option, I will have to actually add them. So here I need to add intern. I need to come back over here. Here also I need to add intern. So just let's copy this. And here also I need to add intern. So that's how we have to add in each reference where is getting used. We need to add manually the values over here. But if I wanted to just add the one more option intern by using enum, it is really simple. Let me go over here. Let me just copy this. Let me come over here. Let me just say 3 intern. So that's it we have to do when we are using the enum. We don't have to go and add in all the places like we did with the option. With enums we just have added that, and now we can just use that wherever we want. Like, we did not add anything over here, we just have created an object to the enum. So that's how simple and easy it is to add one more option to the enum. But if you wanted to have the same thing using the option, we'll have to add everywhere, and we'll have to add in option members as well. So that's how difficult it is. It takes a lot of time if you want to actually change the code in option, but it takes a lot of less time if you wanted to add one more option in the enum. So that's how easy it is to use enums. Also, enums are extendable in dependency objects as well. Like, for example, I am going to publish this, and let me actually go to my dependency app. We have actually developed this dependency app in our previous extensions. If I go to app.json, in here you can see I have my dependency on the main app. And in here what I am going to do now is I'm going to do the download symbols. So it is going to download the latest symbols, and in this extension now I can actually ex- uh, I can say employee account type enum extension.al. And if I say p enum extension, here you can see I'm going to give the id, and let's say employee. You see, I can actually extend the existing enum and I can actually put extra values over here. Like I can say some new value over here. What it says, basically, it used the same. So let me give 6. You see, we can also extend the enums, but with options, it is not possible. So by using option, if you wanted to add a new value, you have to change the value in all the places, or you have to add the value in all the places where the option is referenced. But by using enum, it is simple and easy. You go to the enum object, you just add it over here and just start using. You don't have to worry about where all the enum is actually used. So that's all about enums and options in Business Central. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'll be uploading more videos in this particular series called Zero to Hero Business Central. If you don't want to miss them, you should definitely consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you.